What up, what up? I'm back at it with another video. Before I get into the video, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. I am trying to get this video to 60 likes. Every like counts. And if you haven't subscribed already, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so that you get notified every single time I upload a video. Cool. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna start this video off talking about I'm in like a goofy mood today. I don't know what's going on with me. Am I good? So, as you could probably see, I went to the barber for the first time in like a year. So I haven't been to the barber since last year, May. I used to have like a Caesar, a low Caesar, because my hair is thinning in the front. And so when I would get a low Caesar, you couldn't really tell. It just kind of looked like kind of cool or whatever. But you know, because of the pandemic, barbershops were closed and I didn't want to go. And so I haven't been to a barbershop in over 10 months, right? That's why there's hair on my head. So I already did a video all about my hair journey this time around. Let me stay on task. Stay on task, JR. But I have been feeling like really not like myself this entire pandemic, and a lot of that has been because I haven't been reading as much and I haven't been able to focus throughout this pandemic. And also I'm like a pretty boy. Like I like getting dressed up. I like getting my hair cut every week and like having almost no facial hair and just being like very like polished and never ashy. And wait, let me check my hands before I'm talking too much and I'm ashy, child. That's kind of like my thing. Like it makes me feel good, it makes me feel like my best and stuff like that. So I haven't been able to do a lot of that stuff, and so I haven't felt like myself. And so I was talking to one of my sisters and she was just saying like, yeah, you should really consider just going to the barbershop and getting a shape up, even if you don't cut your hair, because I'm still like not sure whether I am going to cut my hair anytime soon or like why or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? I already talked about that in the other video, so you already know what I'm talking about. But she was like, yeah, you don't have to cut your hair, you can just get a shape up and they can like taper your beard a little bit and like do this and do that and like make you feel kind of like your pretty boy self again, you know? So I did that and I feel cute, so that's good. And I guess I feel a little bit like myself again. All black everything, you know, I got my little like Matrix. This is giving Matrix vibes. You know I got the Telfar, I got the Telfar, I got the glasses. So I'm feeling like my old self again. We outside, but not really. Or we outside with a mask on. Just kind of a bit about hair again. In that other video, I kind of said that I think my hair is kind of like 4B-ish, and it's so confusing. Like black hair is amazing and it's also complicated because when I'm washing my hair and when I have conditioner in my hair, it's really kind of giving like 4A, but as it dries is when we get closer and closer to like 4B, 4C territory sort of. But I've realized that like the more I'm learning about how to actually take care of my hair and not to put too much product in it, not to put too little, to always seal it after I've put product in it and after it's wet with oil, like my hair texture is starting to like not be what I thought it was. It's kind of like 4A, 4B, like 4B, 4A, but it's frizzy, so it kind of will look more 4B. I don't know. So if you know a lot about black hair, I would love to hear some of your thoughts about this stuff in the comment section. Am I doing something wrong? Or like, I don't think so. I think this is just kind of like how black hair is or how my hair is, but it's just so interesting when you've always had this idea of like what your hair is. Because I think growing up, I just kind of thought that like, I didn't even have the language of like 4A, 4B, 4C hair, but I kind of thought that like my hair's like kind of like 4C, 4B. But then now it's just kind of like, nah, it's more like 4B, 4A. But why, when it's wet with conditioner in it, does it look like 4A hair? Just because it's wet, that doesn't mean that it would look like a different hair type. Because 4C hair, when it's wet, yeah, it's really hydrated and stuff like that, but it's not going to look like 4A hair or 3C hair. It's not going to look like a different hair texture. It's going to look like wet and like what wet 4C hair looks like. So these are just things going through my mind about hair. It's so fascinating, like learning this stuff about your own hair. So yeah, that was kind of like the intro. Now on to like the meat and potatoes. A while ago, I made a thread on Twitter about how a lot of bi women find bi men disgusting. And in that thread, I also talked about how bi women don't owe bi men attention or relationship or sex or anything like that. Bi women don't owe us anything. But what I was noticing in my dating life, in my past, in my history, is a lot of women were getting to a place where they were recognizing like, oh, I am bi. Like, I do find women attractive, and I do find men attractive. But when it came to the types of men that they wanted to date, it was usually always men who are heterosexual, and them either not believing that men can be bisexual or being disgusted by bisexual men. So that always kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. It's like that double standard that exists in society, and you as a bi person, as a bi woman, is like reinforcing that or helping to uphold it or whatever. But I do think this conversation is kind of like a little complicated because it can very easily get into like these murky territories of like, oh, bi women owe us to, like, you know what I mean, like that misogynist stuff. That's really not where I'm coming at it from. I don't want to force anybody to want to date me if they don't want to date me. It sounds like it's about wanting bi women to date us or wanting bi women to us, but it's not about that. It's the principle, and also it's this thing that I've noticed that a lot of women do actually, which is like performative wokeness, performative allyship. A lot of trans men and trans masculine folk have talked about the ways in which cisgender women, whether they be lesbians, whether they be bi, whether they be straight, weaponize activist language or weaponize woke language, or have like this front-facing facade of like pretending to be progressive, pretending like, oh yeah, LGBT people deserve rights. And that's great. Like, yeah, everybody deserves rights regardless of whether you want to date us or sleep with us or whatever, right? Great. Like, people deserve human rights. Everybody deserves human rights regardless of how I may feel because of my personal beliefs or religion or just whatever, right? When somebody says things like that and really believes it and follows up in their practices and all of that, that actually makes me like really like on a human level connect or respect a person regardless of how I feel. Everybody deserves rights, and I will always vote that way, and I will always organize that way, or I will always support movements that believe these things. On a human level, that makes me feel like, okay, you're a human being. That is so important, and it's so basic, but it's important. A lot of trans masculine people, trans men, have talked about how a lot of women will present this face like, we're woke, we know the stuff, but when you're actually in community with them, that is not how they show up. That is not what they believe. They actually weaponize the fact that they are cisgender, and they weaponize language around feminism to actively harm trans men, trans masculine folk, and they say really horrible antagonistic things to trans masculine people and hide behind, you're trying to oppress me right now. They gaslight, they manipulate the situation. To the outside world, they might go to other people for sympathy and say, oh yeah, this guy's a misogynist, and that's the reason why he transitioned in the first place. He rejected what it is to be a woman, what it is to be a lesbian, was so filled up with internalized misogyny that he became a man. That is an incredibly disgusting and violent way to frame trans masculinity. This is very common from what I'm hearing, and I'm kind of gonna just like leave this conversation at that because I just don't want to like overstep into like trans men, trans masculine people waters and stuff like that. But I did think that that was sort of like helpful and gives more context to like what I'm saying from the perspective of queer people, LGBT people who are men who date women. Those are like trans masculine experiences. And then myself as like a bisexual man is also talking about some of the ways in which engaging with women, whether they be queer or straight or whatever, and how they try to present this like face of like, we're supportive of LGBT people, LGBT rights, but that is not really how they actually move when it comes to like politically. That is not really what they actually believe. That's not what they talk about and say to their friends. That is not really deeply how they feel. They really do feel that bisexual men are disgusting. They really do feel that trans men and trans masculine people are inferior, and that gives them the right to like either abuse or discriminate against men who are under the LGBT umbrella. It reminds me of like horizontal oppression, and how amongst oppressed groups, instead of focusing on oppression, the source of oppression, which is white supremacy, heteronormativity, we fight and harm one another, deny one another jobs, and say all kinds of horrible things about one another. It's really disheartening, and it's really, really up. We do live in an exploitative world, so it does make sense that we would be exploitative and we would be harming other people and harming people who we think are at a lower place than us on, you know, the social ladder. But it really comes a time when you have to really analyze that and step back and like do the work to unpack and not harm people actively. What's the point of all of this language? What is the point of all of this scholarship and study and life experience that people share if you're not listening, addressing your own bias and transforming, wanting to make the world a better place on a daily basis in your relationships and your communities? It's like it's all just for show, and that's so fake to me. If there's anything I hate, it's like a fake person. I much prefer a person who tells me that they don't like me and we don't speak, or maybe we fight, we stay away from each other, than a person that is in my face every day, is smiling, is pretending to like me or tolerating me or putting up with me, and deep inside they think I'm disgusting because I am bisexual. They think I am disgusting because I am a feminine man. They think that there is something wrong with me. And like, you see this even play out with like gay men when they have friends who are women. They will be around women who they'll laugh with, they'll go shopping with, they will drink with or whatever, be messy with, and maybe even like the gay men will teach them like some gay lingo or teach them how to tell if a guy is gay or bi or whatever, right? But these women don't think that these gay men are really men. They think they're beneath them. They think that there is something wrong with them. That's their belief. Oh, you can't change my belief. I have a right to believe in whatever I believe in. And it's like, you have literally been friends with this person for years. Like, all of that stuff that you have heard about LGBT people, like, you've gotten a chance to witness like a human being in front of you, and you're telling me that you haven't been like changed by that at least a little bit? Like, some of the stereotypes that you've heard, you haven't like shifted a little bit? But then it's hard too, because like some of these gay men, and a lot of bi men too, are extremely misogynistic. I don't want to act as though like, oh, like I'm innocent or we're innocent or anything like that, but I'm just like, to me it is just wild to see this stuff happen in real time, and I don't really know what to do about it. I mean, I guess I could just talk about it on this channel and just talk about things like horizontal oppression and how we need to really focus on the real problem, which is oppression, which is white supremacy, which is heteronormativity. We need to do the work to unlearn what we've been taught by white supremacy, heteronormativity. So yeah, that's kind of all I have to say on this topic. Please let me know what you think about this. This is kind of like a inner community sort of like thing. So I don't know if this is even the appropriate place to even have this conversation, but it kind of needed to be said. If you've made it this far, please leave me some hearts in the comment section below. If you would like to help me out in any way, my Cash App and my Venmo information is right down below in the description box. And I will see you next time. Peace.